Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We might get underway if you can take your seat, please. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the declaration of candidate nominations and the draw for ballot paper positions for the 2020 ACT Legislative Assembly election. My name is Damien Cantwell and I am the ACT Electoral Commissioner. Firstly, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Ngunnawal people. I wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. The nomination period for this election commenced on the 11th September and closed at 12 noon yesterday, the 23rd of September. By the close of nominations, I had received 129 nominations representing political parties and 8 nominations representing non-party candidates, for a total of 137 nominations. Now, we have a copy of all the nominations here for public inspection if requested. I will now read the names of candidates and parties who are contesting the election. I will commence by reading the names of candidates for the electorate of Brindabella. Each party's candidates will be announced according to the order that party nominations were received, with candidates within each party announced in alphabetical order by surname. I will then read the names of ungrouped candidates in alphabetical order. Following the announcement of all candidates for Brindabella, I will then read the names of candidates for the electorates of Ginninderra, Kurrajong, Murrumbidgee and Yerribi, one by one in that order. I'll now proceed to reading of the candidate names. In accordance with section 109 of the ACT Electoral Act 1992, I hereby declare the following people to be duly nominated as candidates for the ACT electorate of Brindabella. In order of receipt: the ACT Greens, Jonathan Davis, Sue Ellerman, Laura Nuttall. The Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT, Greg Bainham, Adrian Olley. For the Canberra Liberals, James Daniels, Jane Hyatt, Nicole Lauder, Mark Parton, Andrew Wall. For the ACT Labor, Joy Birch, Kathy Day, Brendan Ford, Mick Gentleman, Tamus Werner-Gibbings. For the Australian Federal Party, Australian Capital Territory, Jason Potter, Scott Sanford. For the Animal Justice Party, Jana Fariz, Robin Socksmith. For the Liberal Democrats, Jacob Gowell, Matthew Knight. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, Andrew Clapham and Bruce Willett. That concludes the declaration of candidates for the electorate of Brindabella. In accordance with section 109 of the Electoral Act ACT 1992, I hereby declare the following people to be duly nominated as candidates for the ACT electorate of Ginninderra. In order of receipt: Belko Party, Vijay Dubey, Chick Henry, Angela Lount, Bill Stefaniak, Alan Tutt. The ACT Greens, Joe Clay, Tim Lurch, Kat Milner. For the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party ACT, Matthew Ogilvie, Oliver Smith. The Canberra Liberals, Peter Kane, Robert Gunning, Elizabeth Kickert, Casey Lamb, Ignatius Rosario. For the Australian Climate Change Justice Party, Oksana Dimitrios, Soking Nep, Jonathan Stavridis. For ACT Labor, Yvette Berry, Tara Chain, Sue Ducker, Greg Lloyd, Gordon Ramsay. For Animal Justice Party, Carolyn Drew, Lara Drew. For Liberal Democrats, Dominic DeLucia, Guy Jakeman. For Labor DLP, Helen McClure, Ian McClure. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, Paul Gabriel, Mark O'Connor. For ungrouped, that is non-party, Mignon Cullen, independent. That concludes the list of candidates for the electorate of Ginninderra. I will now turn to the candidates for the electorate of Kurrajong. In accordance with section 109 of the ACT Electoral Act 1992, I hereby declare the following people to be duly nominated as candidates for the ACT electorate of Kurrajong, in order of receipt. The Community Action Party, ACT, Alvin Hopper, Robin Williams. For ACT Greens, Adriana Boysen, Michael Brewer, Shane Rattenbury, Rebecca Vassarotti. For Canberra Progressives, Tim Baum, Peter Ann Byrant, Teresa Faulkner. For Canberra Liberals, Candice Birch, Ratesh Goomba, Robert Johnson, Elizabeth Lee, Patrick Pantani. For the Australian Climate Change Justice Party, Sophia Fauna, Peter Johnson, Alex O'Hara. For ACT Labor, Judy Anderson, Andrew Barr, Jacob Ingram, Maddie Northam, Rachel Stevens-Smith. The Animal Justice Party, Saren Rutledge Pryor, Julie Smith. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, Joy Angel, John Hayden. Ungrouped non-party, Marilena Damiano, Independent. Bruce Payne, Independent. That concludes the list of candidates for election at Kurrajong. I'll now turn to Murrumbidgee. In accordance with Section 109 of the ACT Electoral Act 1992, I hereby declare the following people to be duly nominated as candidates for the ACT electorate of Murrumbidgee in order of receipt. The ACT Greens, Terry Baker, Emma Davidson, Janara Goreng. For the Canberra Progressives, Robert Knight, Stephen Lynn. For the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party ACT, Mark Gilmaya and Gordon Yateman. For Canberra Liberals, Ed Cox, Jeremy Hanson, Julia Jones, Umadeep Singh and Sarah Sweeney. For the Australian Climate Change Justice Party, Rowan Burns, Andrew Demetrios, Richard Forner, Jackson Hillman, Peter Veenstra. ACT Labor, Beck Cody, Tim Dobson, Brendan Long, Marissa Patterson, Chris Steele. The Animal Justice Party, Yana Del Valle, Edmund Handby. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, Jeff Buckmaster, Jill Mayle. Ungrouped non-party, Fiona Carrick, Independent, Lee Perrin Leveridge, Independent, and Brendan White, Independent. That concludes the candidates for the electorate of Murrumbidgee. We'll now turn to Yerrabee. In accordance with Section 109 of the ACT Electoral Act 1992, I hereby declare the following persons to be duly nominated as candidates for the ACT electorate of Yerrabee in order of receipt. For the ACT Greens, Andrew Braddock, Manu Hook. Canberra Progressives, Mike Steelzig, Bethany Williams. David Pollard, Independent, David Pollard, Stephanie Pollard. Canberra Liberals, Leanne Castley, Alastair Coe, James Milligan, Krishna Nadim Pali, Jacob Vadaka Duff. ACT Labor, Tom Fisher, Deepak Raj Gupta, Suzanne Orr, Michael Patterson, Georgia Phillips. Animal Justice Party, Bernie Brennan, Francine Horn, Labor DLP, Olivia Helmore, Bernie Strung. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, John Kersley, Scott Young. Ungrouped non-party, Alan Cross, Independent, Mohammed Manir Hussain, Australian Federation Party, Australian Capital Territory, and Fusin Lee, Independent. Now, copies of candidate lists are available for anyone who may wish to have one shortly. Please note that party groups and candidates shown on those lists are not in ballot paper order. Lists of parties and candidates in ballot paper order will be available on the Elections ACT website later today. If I can apologise for anyone whose name I've mispronounced, but I assure you we've got the record correct on the lists. We'll now turn to the ballot draw. We'll shortly commence the ballot paper draws for positions on each of the 5 ballot papers. Using the allocation of randomly generated numbers, a double randomisation draw will determine the order in which party groups will appear on the ballot paper. Ungrouped candidates are automatically allocated the far right-hand column. Candidates who are the sole candidate nominated in an electorate for the registered party will also appear in this far right-hand column. The starting order of candidates within each column will then be decided through an additional randomised draw, and this starting order determines the Robson rotation variations used to print ballot papers. So now for the ballot draw for Brindabella. As was the case with the announcement of candidates, I will begin the ballot draws with Brindabella and progress through the 5 electorates alphabetically. Now the party groups are displayed here in the order in which nominations were received. A number equaling the total number of party groups is entered into an electronic random number generator. The first number randomly drawn is allocated to the group which is listed first, and this continues on until all groups have been allocated a randomly generated number. The number of groups is then re-entered. As each new random number is generated, it is matched with each group, and the groups are allocated the corresponding position on the ballot paper. We'll just pause for a moment before we conduct the draw. Excuse me. So now we'll conduct the draw. You'll see being broadcast at the same time is the copy of the random number which has just been generated, number 6. Therefore, ACT Greens allocated number 6. The Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT, number 1. Canberra Liberals, number 5. ACT Labor, number 3. Australian Federation Party, Australian Capital Territory, number 7. Animal Justice Party, number 4. Liberal Democrats, number 8. Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, number 2. So we'll now re-enter the number of groups and generate a new series of random numbers to be matched against each group. First number generated is number 3, which is ACT Labor. The next number generated is number 4, which is Animal Justice Party. Next number is number 6, ACT Greens. The next number, number 5, Canberra Liberals. The next number is 8, Liberal Democrats. The next number is number 2, Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. Next number, number 1, Shooters, Farmers and Fishers, Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT. The last number is number 7, Australian Federation Party, Australian Capital Territory. And the last number there, you'll see depicted as all, which verifies that the total numbers have already been drawn. I want to make sure that's recorded. Okay. We'll now turn to the conduct of the candidate draw within each column. Candidates within each group are listed here in alphabetical order by surname. A number equaling the number of candidates in each column is entered into the electronic device and generated at random. The first random number is allocated to the candidate who is listed first, and this continues until all candidates have been allocated positions within their column. This process is repeated for each column as appropriate. The resulting order of candidates in each column is used as the starting position on which the Robson rotation variations are based. will now conduct the draw for the candidates within each column. First number is number 1, Jonathan Davis. Number 2, Sue Ellerman. And number 3, Lara Nuttall. For the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, number 1, Greg Bainham. And number 2, Adrian Ollie. It's randomly generated. For the Canberra Liberals, first number is number 5, goes to James. Stop. First one is number 2, allocated to James Daniels. Next number, number 3. The next number is number 5. The next number, number 1. The next number, number 4. For ACT Labor, first number, number 3, Joy Birch. Next number, number 1. Next number, number 5. Next number is 4. The next number is 2. Now for the Australian Federation Party, Australian Capital Territory, first number is 2. Second number is 1. For the Animal Justice Party, first number is 2. Second number, 1. The Liberal Democrats, first number is 1. Second number, 2. The Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, first number is 1. The second number is 2. That concludes Brindella. So that concludes Brindabella. We'll now repeat that randomisation process for parties and candidates in the electorate of Ginninderra. Firstly, the double randomisation draw for parties. First number, number 9, Belko Party. Next number 1, ACT Greens. Number 6, for Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT. Next number is number 4, the Canberra Liberals. Next number is number 3, the Australian Climate Change Justice Party. The next number is number 10 for ACT Labor. The next number is 8 for Animal Justice Party. The next number is 7 for Liberal Democrats. The next number is 2 for Labor DLP. The last number is 5 for Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. The first number in the second randomisation is number 6, Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT. Next number is 2, Labor DLP. Next number is 3, Animal Climate Change Justice, Australian Climate Change Justice Party. Next number is 8, Animal Justice Party. Next number is 5, Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. Next number is 9, the Belko Party. Next number, number 4, Canberra Liberals. Next number, number 7, Liberal Democrats. Next number, number 1, ACT Greens. The last number is number 10, ACT Labor. We'll just take a moment to make sure we've got that recorded and saved. Now the draw for the candidate positions within each column. The first from the Belko Party, first number 1, BJ Dubé. Next number 5. The next number 2. The next number 4. And the last number is number 3. For ACT Greens, the first number is 2. Second number is number 3. And the last number 1. The Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT, first number generated is number 2. The second number is number 1. The Canberra Liberals, the first number generated is number 5. Next number 3. The next is 2. The next number is number 4. The last one is number 1. For the Australian Climate Justice Party, first number generated is number 1. Second number is number 3. And the third number generated is number 2. For ACT Labor, first number is number 2. The second number is 1. Third number is 4. The next number is 5. The next and last number in the sequence is 3 for Gordon Ramsay. For Animal Justice Party, the first number generated is 1. The second number is number 2. For the Liberal Democrats, the first number generated is 2. The second number is number 1. For Labor DLP, first number is number 1. The second number is number 2. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, the first random number is number 1. The second number is 2. And, not surprisingly, the random number generated or ungrouped is number 1. Thanks, Ray. So that's the candidate draw for Ginninderra. We'll now turn to Kurrajong. We'll now repeat the randomisation process for parties and candidates in electorate of Kurrajong. Firstly, as before, the double randomisation draw for parties. The first randomly generated number 7, Community Action Party, ACT. The next number 5, for ACT Greens. The next number is number 4, for Canberra Progressives. The next number is 8, Canberra Liberals. Next number 2, for Australian Climate Change Justice Party. The next number is number 6, for ACT Labor. The next number for the Animal Justice Party is 3. And the last number for Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, is number 1. We'll now do the second randomisation. And the first number is 5, ACT Greens. No, ACT Greens. That's it. Second number is number 1. Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. Next number is 8. Canberra Liberals. Next one, 7. Community Action Party, ACT. Next number is 6. ACT Labor. Next number is number 2. Australian Climate Change Justice Party. Next number is 4. Canberra Progressives. The next number and last one in the sequence is number 3, which is the Animal Justice Party. I'll just save that. And now for the candidates draw within Kurrajong. For the Community Action Party, ACT, the first number generated is number 1. The second number is number 2. For the ACT Greens, the first number, number 1. The second number, number 2. Third number is number 3. And the fourth number of the random generation is number 4. For Canberra Progressives, the first random number is number 3. The second number is number 1. And the last in this group, in this party, I should say, is number 2. For Canberra Liberals, first number is number 2. Second number is number 1. The third number drawn is number 5. The next number is number 3. And the last number is number 4. For the Australian Climate Change Justice Party, the first random number is number 2. The second random number is number 1, and the third number is number 3. For ACT Labor, the first random number is number 3. No. Okay. For ACT Labor, the first random number is number 2. The second random number is number 3. Next number is number 4. The next is 5. Next is 1. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, the first random number is number 2. The second is 1. For the ungrouped, the first random number is number 2. The second number is number 1. And that's for the candidates within each column. For Kurrajong, we'll save that. We'll now move to Murrumbidgee. We'll repeat the randomisation process for parties and candidates in the electorate of Murrumbidgee. Firstly, the double randomisation draw for parties. The first number, ACT Greens, is number 5. The second number for Canberra Progressives is number 3. The next number, number 4 for Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party. The next is 6 for Canberra Liberals. The next is 7 for Climate Change Justice Party. Number 2 for ACT Labor. Number 1 for Animal Justice Party. And for Sustainable Australia Stop Overdevelopment, the last number is 8. So next randomisation is delivered number 1, which is Animal Justice Party. Next is number 8, which is Sustainable Australia Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. The next number generated is 5, ACT Greens. Next, number 4, Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT. Next, number 2, ACT Labor. Next, number 7, Australian Climate Change Justice Party. The next number is 6, Canberra Liberals. And the last selection is number 3, which is Canberra Progressives. Save that. And now for the order of candidates within the column. For ACT Greens, the first number generated is number 1, the second number 3, and the last number 2. For Canberra Progressives, first random number is number 2. Second is number 1. For Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, ACT, the first number generated is number 2. Second number 1. For Canberra Liberals, the first number generated is number 4. Second number 5. Third number 2. The next number is number 1, and the last number is number 3. The next party column is the Australian Climate Change Justice Party, and the first random number generated is number 1. The next number 5. Next number 4. Next is number 2, and the next and last is number 3. For ACT Labor, the first random number is number 2. The next random number is 5. Next is 1. The next is 4. And the next and last is 3. For the Animal Justice Party, first number is number 2. The second number is number 1. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, the first number is number 2 and the second number 1. For Ungrouped, the first random number is number 2, or Fiona Carrick. The second number is number 3, and the third number is number 1. So that's the draw for positions for Murrumbidgee, and we'll save that, and now move to Werribee. We'll now repeat the randomisation process for parties and candidates in the electorate of Werribee. Firstly, the double randomisation draw for parties. And the first for ACT Greens is number 8. The second number is number 3 for Canberra Progressives. For David Pollard Independent, number 4. For Canberra Liberals, number 6. For ACT Labor, number 7. For Animal Justice Party, number 1. For Labor DLP, number 5. And for Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, number 2. The second randomisation, the first number is 5, Labor DLP. The second number is number 6, Canberra Liberals. The third number, number 8, ACT Greens. Next is number 2, Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. The next number 3, which is Canberra Progressives. The next number 4, David Pollard Independent. The next number 1, Animal Justice Party. The last in this draw is number 7, ACT Labor. Now for the candidates within each column for Murrumbidgee. ACT Greens, the first number generated is number 1 and the second one, number 2. For Canberra Progressives, the first number generated is number 2, the second number 1. For David Pollard Independent, the first number generated is number 2 and the second number 1. The Canberra Liberals, the first random number is number 4. The next number 5. The next is number 2. The next is 1. And the next number and last is number 3. For ACT Labor, and the order of draw for candidates, the first number is number 2. Next is number 1. The next number is number 3. Next number is 5. And the last in this column is number 4. For Animal Justice Party, first number is number 1. The next is number 2. For Labor DLP, first number is number 2. And the second is number 1. For Sustainable Australia, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption, the first number is number 1. The second number is number 2. For Ungrouped, first number is number 1. Second number is number 3. And the last in the sequence is number 2. I'm going to save that for Murrumbidgee. Oh, and, sorry, ACT Greens. Wait, come. Sorry. You can only have so much fun. So, sorry, say again, what's the issue you're raising? Yes. Thank you. Okay. So for Kurrajong. Yeah, Animal Justice Party. It's missing from the Kurrajong draw, on my sincere apologies for the Animal Justice Party. Yeah, Seren Rutledge Pryor and Julie Smith. So the first, Seren Rutledge Pryor. The Animal Justice Party under electorate of Kurrajong. Seren Rutledge Pryor. And Julie Smith. Okay, so the first random number is number 2. The second number is number 1. Again, my apologies for that omission. I'll save that. So now we've saved all that as we've progressed, both on the drive and also physical copy. So by wrap up, that concludes the official proceedings. Again, my apologies for that oversight for the Animal Justice Party. Thank you for your attendance, both here and also in virtual reality. My also deepest appreciation also to the management here at the Playhouse providing the venue and facilitating the arrangements under a COVID-safe plan today. Deeply appreciated. I'd also like to wish, on behalf of the ACT Electoral Commission, each of the candidates well in their quest to be elected to the Legislative Assembly for the ACT 2020. Now, the officers and staff from Elections ACT, as you well appreciate, we've now got a lot to do. We'll now leave you as we need to prepare ballot papers, ready for printing, organise the postal ballot paper packs for dispatch and finalise arrangements for voting to commence starting on Monday next week. Now, the list of parties and candidates in the ballot paper order that we've drawn here today will be available on the Elections ACT website later today, as soon as we'll get them onto the site. There will also be sample ballot papers posted on the website in the next day or so. Now that concludes our proceedings here today. Again, thank you for your attendance and for your engagement in this important democratic process in the elections for 2020. Thank you for your attendance and have a great day.